Satan, Lucifer, Belial, Leviathan, Samael. To Satanas, the giver of life, energy, and consciousness, we are illuminated by your trans-dimensional light. Our Father, which wert in heaven, hallowed be thy name, in heaven as it is on earth. Give us this day our ecstasy, and deliver us to evil as well as temptation. For we are your kingdom for aeons and aeons. May Satanas, the all-powerful king of the earth, grant us our desires. King of the earth, hear us. Open wide the gates of hell and come forth from the abyss. We believe in one king, Satanas, who reigns over this earth, and in one law which triumphs over all. We believe in one sanctum, our satanic sanctum, and in one word which triumphs over all, the word of ecstasy. And we believe in the law of the aeon, which is sacrifice for that desired, for which we shed no tears, since we give praise to our King and the pleasures that are to come.
Glad that you're with me tonight. Welcome. Looks like we've got a pretty good crowd. Lots of folks coming in. Dr. Cindy, Lorelei, Maggie, good to see you. Magister Cygnus, welcome, brother. Serpent-Headed Mask, welcome. AKA Morning Star, welcome to you as well. So we've got a lot to do tonight, a lot to get through. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be watching the episode 5 of Exalted, and the name of that is the Satanic Black Mass. So I've been really excited to do this for a while. This is part of the Exalted series, and I really, really enjoy doing that. A lot of hard work goes into it, but it's also very rewarding. So let me ask, can everyone hear me okay, or is it too loud? Yeah, okay. All right. Cornelius? Yeah, we'll take it down just a little bit, ma'am. All right. All right, so again, if you have joined us and you have not subscribed earlier, you won't be able to take part in the chat for 30 minutes. So just a way to reward those that have subscribed. So if you do want to add something in the chat, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And you'll be able to, again, after 30 minutes. I want to thank my Patreons. These are the people that make this possible, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Without them, this could not happen. And thank you so much. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon after this event, maybe if you like what you see, you can go over to patreon.com/Satanism and join up. And now a little bit of business here. So again, it looks like only 80% of the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I know you hate to hear that stuff over and over again. I hate to even say it. But the algorithm picks it up, and in order to reach more people, we have to play the algorithm game. And speaking of Patreon tonight, if you go over to my Patreon and you join at the $50 a month level, I'm going to send you a signed The Unholy Trinity book. So I'll sign that and I'll send that to you as a thank you for supporting this ministry through the Patreon. Again, could not do it without you. Also, if you are looking for a way to support our ministry and get a little something back, we've got some nice things over on our creator site. So you can go over. I've actually got some Satanic Black Mass and some Exalted stuff, even some Hellathon, which is this event that you're watching tonight. So, and I just love these witches up here. They look just like me before all of my gray hair fell out. Even with the big nose, I love it. Just perfect. So if you want to go over and check out some of that, every little bit helps to support the ministry and keep things going, and hopefully sponsor events like this going forward in the future. One thing I would like to start with is I teamed up with Malthorpe Draco, Cygnus Atratus, and we started making a podcast called Night Sessions. And it's a lot of fun to do. But I think more than that, there's a lot of really good messages that are in that subject matter and are coming in the future as well. So if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts. You can check it out on all of the podcast RSS feeds, whichever one that you like the best. So you can go over and you can check that out. And again, I'm having a great time with these guys doing this podcast. And we've got a lot of real good feedback as well. A lot of people really like this type of format where we just kind of talk about things as Satanists, and what's going good, what's not going so good, how we improve our practices and rituals and things like that. So, and before we go any further, I've actually got one of the guys, Malthorpe, who is going to do a check-in with us. So let's see here if I can bring him online. Here we go. Malthorpe, are you there?
I'm here, Aleister. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're having a wonderful time at this live event, and I'm so delighted that you could join and do a check-in tonight. How have you been?
I've been great. A couple of bumps in the road here and there, like we all face in life, but nothing to write home about. It's been, really good time of year for me.
Excellent. And you and I have been working on a podcast, and I'm really loving it. I'm having a great time. We're getting great feedback about it. Would you like to tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about that podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really have three co-hosts on the podcast. Aleister, obviously, you as our Magus, and myself, and then Cygnus, who I know you're going to be talking to tonight as well. And, the three of us are really just looking to take our passion in Satanas and to share it with others. And we're wanting to do that in a very authentic way. All three of us have traveled together in some of the same paths. And, Aleister, you've been our teacher for many years. And so we're attempting to use those relationships that we've had to answer some of these questions that people have on their journey, to help make that journey a little bit easier and to help people to connect into an authentic message. And so I've really enjoyed it too. It's been a great experience for me so far. And I think we'll be cutting the third episode in just a couple of days, and really looking forward to that.
I am too. I really enjoy doing it, and I think it really resonates with the audience as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about what the next episode might be about?
Yeah, so when we're looking at our path and our journey, our last show, we talked about the fact that the journey is individualistic. But some of the first questions that a new follower has is, what is my approach? How should I approach Satan? If I have a teacher or a magus that's helping to lead me, how do I approach that individual? So we're going to be talking about the authentic approach and beginning of the pathway for self, for Satan, and then for teacher. And so that'll be the focus of the next show. And we'll be exploring those three pathways, which really bring you to unity into one.
Sounds great. I'm really looking forward to working on that with you. Malthorpe, thank you so much for being here and doing the check-in tonight. Is there anything that you would like to say to our audience before we go?
I would just say, welcome and follow along with us. This is a path for all of us together. There's no hierarchy here. We're just looking to have those authentic conversations, and feel free to send us questions too. We'll be happy to answer those on our show as well.
Thank you, Malthorpe. I will talk to you soon.
Take care, my brother.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Wonderful check-in there with Malthorpe. Malthorpe is one of our satanic priests in Magnum Opus. He's been with me for a long time, and a really cherished brother. I'm getting a very good, a really good feeling about this podcast. I think it's really going to reach a lot of people who are searching for something. So I give the praise to Satanas. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the first part of the Satanic Black Mass. We're going to come back. We're going to do some catching up. I've got some other friends on the left-hand path that I'm going to do a check-in with. And we're going to hopefully answer some questions. I've got some mail and things like that I want to take care of tonight as well. So again, thank you for being here. I really enjoyed making this episode of Exalted. This is a passion for me. I really love working on this subject matter, obviously, and I really enjoy doing video because it seems to really strike a chord with a lot of people. And so I am just so happy to be doing this. And I hope you get a satanic blessing from this episode. We're going to delve in. The first part of this episode kind of explains some of the history of the Black Mass and kind of how we arrived at today. And then the second part of this episode, we're going to kind of go through the Satanic Black Mass as performed by Magnum Opus, by our coven. So without further ado, I hope you've got your popcorn. Sit back, relax, and let's watch part one of the Satanic Black Mass.
The most infamous age-old satanic ritual is known as the Black Mass, also known as Messe Noire, Mass of Heresy, Mass of the Dead, Mass of Death, Mass of the Nazarene, and the Devil's Mass. The Black Mass has developed and evolved over a period of 1,200 years, and its origin is far from lying in an established satanic tradition, actually lies within the rituals and ceremonies of the early Christian church. To many individuals, such a ritual appears to be pointless and unnecessary. However, the benefits are manifold, with some benefits being carnal, material, and spiritual for the practitioner. The Mass of the Dead is considered by some to be the originator of the Black Mass, and although considerably different from modern versions of the Black Mass, this variation of the early Christian Mass was performed by a Christian priest accompanied by a female server with whom he had copulated prior to the ritual. The Mass took place in a disused church, and a black triangular host was duly consecrated and used. The progression from the Mass of the Dead into the modern Black Mass took a new turn when it was linked to the medieval witches' Sabbat. Accordingly, the inclusion of a horned figure who presided over the ceremony and who came to be associated with the scapegoat began to be one of the central aspects of the Black Mass. An orgy was also included, something that was most likely derived from the rites of the cults originating in ancient Rome and Greece. In his book, The Black Arts, Richard Cavendish outlines the proceedings of the witches' Sabbat, commencing with the witches paying homage to the devil. The witches would light a fire while the devil was seated upon a throne in the form of either a goat, representing Satan himself, or a dog, which was closely connected to the dark goddess Hecate. The dog was one of her sacred animals. Hecate comes from the ancient Greek religion and mythology. The witches would approach the devil, and their approach would be foreign to a normal man. After this came the offering of the candles to the devil and the obscene kiss, where the witches kissed the devil's behind. Following the obscene kiss, initiation, baptism, or marriage rituals would occur, followed by the feast and the orgy, which concluded the witches' Sabbath. The inclusion of a feast and an orgy at the end of the witches' Sabbath is very much reminiscent of the Bacchanalia that existed during the times of the Roman Empire. The Bacchanalia was originally a secret society that eventually initiated men into its cult. Its members, who were said to indulge in their fleshly passions, were also alleged to have been responsible for a number of deaths performed in secret caves, and they were also thought to be responsible for defilements of its members who refused to take the oath of the cult or to commit specific vices. When the cult was finally repressed by the Roman authorities, there was estimated to be approximately 7,000 men and women who were imprisoned and their meeting places were destroyed. The Bacchanalia was then prohibited. The similarities between the Bacchanalia, the witches' Sabbath, and the Black Mass are truly striking. The traditional Black Mass from medieval era frees the individual from constraints subconsciously and consciously from all of society's indoctrination and stigma. The ritual, or ceremony as it is called by some, usually consists of a priest who acts as the main celebrant, accompanied by two assistants referred to as the deacon and the subdeacon respectively, a nun adorned in a habit and wimple, a naked female or male if desired who serves as an altar, and the general congregation. The ritual begins with an invocation to the Prince of Darkness and his hosts of demons, followed by a renunciation of past allegiances and a dedication to Satan. The ritual progresses through the satanic offering, canon, and consecration of the host. The Mass is completed with the repudiation and denunciation, whereby the power and divinity of Christ and other angelic deities are denied, and the power of Satan is invoked and exalted. After this, the ceremony is concluded with the wafer, which, having been consecrated by the celebrant, is then thrown to the floor and destroyed. The participants drink from the chalice, receive the satanic communion, and the ritual is then declared completed. The Order of the Nine Angles offered a similar, though different, tradition concerning the Black Mass. While in the Church of Satan's Black Mass, the naked female takes the altar, the Black Mass of the Order of Nine Angles uses a naked male as the altar. 3 further participants and the congregation are included. As opposed to the accepted understanding of the Black Mass, where the participants are all adorned in black robes, the 3 leading participants wear white, scarlet, and purple, and while the Church of Satan excluded the sexual element that seems to have been prevalent in many of the previous versions of the Black Mass, the Order of the Nine Angles have included two specifically sexual elements. The first being the masturbation of the priest by the priestess, who then ejaculates over the host, which is duly trampled upon by the congregation, followed by an orgy at the end of the ceremony. The importance of the Black Mass in modern Satanism, therefore, has a number of purposes, and even though groups such as the Society of Dark Lily regard its cathartic use as something of the past, it still remains one of the most potent and blasphemous rites of Satanism. In the early 1960s, Anton Là-bas began to hold what he termed as midnight magic seminars on Friday evenings, lecturing on a wide variety of traditional occult and supernatural subjects with which he familiarized himself over the years. As such, these meetings began to develop and evolve into the Black Mass used by the Church of Satan. In the 19th century, the Black Mass became popularized in French literature in books such as Satanism and Witchcraft by Jules Michelet and Là-bas by Joris Karl Huysmans. There's an excellent example of a Black Mass technique in George Orwell's 1984, wherein the magician O'Brien forces his victim or student Winston Smith to trample upon the sacred cow for his love of Julia. While Winston recognizes the force used on him, he nonetheless finds himself unable to recapture his original illusion of love for her. It is thought by most that all satanic rituals are in the form of the Black Mass. This is a misconception. Most satanic rituals have nothing in them that would be considered sacrilegious to other religions. One of the reasons a Black Mass would be performed in a satanic coven would be to remove a stigma attached to the activities of one or more of the members. If a person felt bound or stifled by a previous religion, a Black Mass would be performed to enable him or her to completely divorce themselves from the limiting factors of that past religion. A Black Mass consists of such things as saying the Lord's Prayer backwards, interspersed with obscenities, hanging the crucifix upside down, desecration of the host, and other forms of defilement or parody which are threatening concerning the religion. By reducing the awesomeness of the religion to ridiculousness, the Satanist removes fear and stigma. However, to perform a Black Mass just for its shock value would serve no useful purpose. Established religions are no threat to the Satanist. Atheistic Satanists use the word Satan as a convenient personification of their desire for unrestricted, uninhibited self-expression. The main philosophical and theological problem for these atheistic Satanists is that they have nothing beyond their own human powers to which to appeal for help when their personal resources provide inadequate. Theistic Satanism is diametrically opposed to atheistic Satanism. Theistic Satanism is centered on the belief that Satanas, Lucifer, Ahriman, the devil by whatever name, is a real entity with real objective existence. A few points about the theistic belief. Satanas is real. Demons are real. Satanas and his demons cannot be controlled, coerced, or commanded to do anything, nor abstain from doing anything they desire. The commanding language used by some Satanists is evidence of their lack of understanding and satanic knowledge. These individuals are treading dangerously close to a very hard lesson to learn. We as devil worshippers, also known as satanic witches, are not morally bankrupt as established religion would have the world believe. We are theistic and spiritual individuals. To those religions, Rock of Ages, fall on thee. We also believe the gnosis comes from Satanas. He is the fountain of knowledge, wisdom, and the protector of the theistic Satanist. Many so-called Satanists simply could not stomach a real theistic Satanic Black Mass. When preparing, the more care you take to find the proper environment for your Black Mass, the more potent the working itself will be. This is not just because a more elaborate ritual chamber is exciting or evocative, but also because the very act of preparing for the ritual and anticipating the working contributes to the momentum of the working itself. The ritual chamber is not merely the room or open area in which you operate, but the overall concept extends to everything, including your physical body and all 5 physical senses of sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. At the very least, you should take steps to ensure no distractions, and you should not expect to get everything exactly right the first time you complete the Black Mass. The goal is to exclude all sensations which clash with the focus of the working, and to reinforce all sensations which enhance that focus. The Black Mass also generates its own forms of sinister energy. To see the Black Mass as simply a mockery is to misunderstand its power and magic. The Black Mass that we perform in Magnum Opus comes to us from our paternal coven in Bavaria called Die Deutsche Ordnung. Our coven is much more than friends. Our coven holds the members together and allows us to fully realize our full potential as theistic Satanists. Entities such as Lucifer, Satanas, Beelzebub, and the hosts of hell are actual beings from a parallel dimensional world where things are very different from our limited everyday reality. Rituals utilize the conscious mind and spectrum consciousness facilitates transversal of the parallax dimension. This is the speed of thought, which is much, much faster than the speed of light, and this creates the resonant effect at the molecular level during communications with those just beyond the veil. For our coven magnum opus, rituals are focused on spending time communing with Satanas. We do not simply want to achieve physical advantages. It is our wish to get closer to Satanas himself. We regard this as a way of committing ourselves much more deeply to the satanic path we have chosen. Rituals such as the Black Mass draw devil worshippers into closer communion and direct interaction with the devil himself. As we create the satanic atmosphere, and as we ask for satanic blessings in our endeavor, we also bind and seal our magical workings using the phrase, "So mote it be." This is the way to figuratively seal our desires and send them into the world of the parallax. Ave Satanas. As discussed, the Black Mass exists in several versions. The Black Mass discussed from this point onward is specific to Magnum Opus Satanic Coven. We begin our preparation by developing the objectives. As with any ritual, the objectives must be determined by the practitioner or coven. Once decided, the next step is determining the scope of the ritual. What satanic being will be called upon to facilitate achievement of the objectives? Will this be an invocation or evocation? This should be determined according to the Black Mass objectives. While the moon is on a synodic 111-month cycle, which equals 9¼ years, we do not wait 111 months to perform the Black Mass. The best time to perform the Black Mass is during a new moon. However, a full moon is also acceptable according to the ritual objectives. All roles and congregation may be male, female, non-binary, and/or gender fluid. First, we have the celebrant. The celebrant role is served by a satanic priest, priestess, or a magus. The celebrant is the person who officiates and performs the ritual. Next is the altar. The altar is the person who will lie upon the altar platform during the ritual. Next are the deacon and subdeacon. These are the assistants to the celebrant. The role of the illuminator can be filled by the deacon, subdeacon, or both as desired. Another role is the mistress of the earth. She is dressed in a robe and, if desired, may be dressed in a nun's habit and wimple. The mistress rings the bell as required during the Black Mass ceremony. And lastly, the congregation chants, recites, and responds to recitations during the Black Mass. It is important to note all roles except the celebrant may be performed by any member of the coven. The celebrant must be a satanic priest, priestess, or magus in magnum opus. As we begin to prepare for the Black Mass, we want to ask a few questions. Will this be a sole practitioner or coven? Who will be the participants? Those individuals will have a role during the Black Mass, and they should clearly understand such roles. Adequate preparation is required for all involved. It is very important that the participants become the role which he, she, or they are fulfilling without reservation, encumbrances, fear, or doubt. Some celebrants, myself included,
So it looks like we had a little malfunction there. It always happens during a live event. What can you say? I'm going to try to bring us back to where we were. Please stand by.
Ceremony. If not, the written text should be distributed to the congregation, and each member of the congregation may need a candle in order to read the text at the chosen times. Recitations should be in a language understood by the coven. Latin is sometimes used, however, all in attendance should clearly understand the Latin recitations. The black altar cloth should cover the altar platform. The athame, ritual book, bell, incense holder, candles, candle holder stands as desired, candle snuffer, incense holder, musical instruments or device, book holder or stand, font or bowl, crystals as desired, parchment paper, sigils, etc. are placed on or around the altar platform. The chalice and paten are filled and placed on the altar platform as well, leaving room for the altar to lie down on the altar platform. Assemble the congregation in robes in the sanctum or in the preparation area at least 30 minutes before the beginning of the Black Mass. This should be a solemn assembly to begin meditation and quiet reflection to align the minds of the congregation. The visualization of the objectives and desired outcomes should be the cognitive focus of the congregation.
Okay, so again, a live event, you can always count on the video not working right or something to that effect. Anyway, I apologize for that. Afterward, this episode is going to air in its entirety. So if you want to watch the episode, the full episode after this, you certainly can. Now, when you're getting ready to perform your Satanic Black Mass, obviously you're going to need some implements and things like that. And so I believe we've got Maggie. She is here tonight, I believe. And this is her store. And she's got some really neat products, very high quality and things like that. So if you need stuff for your altar or what have you, you can certainly go over there and check that out. And speaking of check that out, I've got a little check-in with Maggie, so hold on and let's see if we can get that up here. Maggie, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for checking in with us. How have you been?
I have been great. Thank you for checking in with me. It's great to be here and to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. So what have you got going on? I know you're very busy. What's happening?
Well, right now I've been working on updating my website, the lefthandpathwitch.com. I'm updating some of my services and my products. I have been only focusing on wholesale orders for the past little while, but I'm thinking of starting to offer them up again for just everyone for a little while. I think the difference is going to be now that I'm making smaller batches when I'm inspired to do so. So they'll be there for a limited time, and what's there is there, and when it's gone, it's gone. And when the muses call me to do so, I'll get in my space and create and keep it going like that. It's a labor of love. I don't want it to become overwhelming or that I'm simply doing it just to get things done and out there. It has to be a work of art and an act of love and magic.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Thank you.
So has the supply chain, has that affected what you do in getting materials or anything?
Yes, there's been, some delays, and sometimes, I haven't been able to get the same oils from the companies that I'm used to, and then other oils have different textures and smells. So I think that's part of the reason why I just, decided to just focus on my wholesale orders, because it was getting very hard to make everything the same. And people expect the same, when you love a product, you want to get that same product, and I don't like disappointing people. So.
Good. And your website is the lefthandpathwitch.com, right?
Yes, it is.
I think I've got a card coming up in just a moment with your store and the link and information as well. So hopefully some folks will go over and buy some things. We're screening the Satanic Black Mass. Certainly people need supplies for that. So
yes. Yeah, awesome. Come on over. And I also offer over there a wide variety of services as well. Reiki practices, healing, chakra work, all of that stuff. I'm sure many people can do it for themselves, but you know what? Even, the experienced practitioners, sometimes it's good to have somebody go in and take a look. And, sometimes they see things energetically that you miss out on. And I know I get cleansings done occasionally from a trusted witch, and and I do it for her, and I have a few people like that. It's helpful. And also I've written a book recently. Is it okay to talk about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's Love Magic, Left Hand Path Love Magic, and it's one book out of 3 that came together in, do I have a copy here? In the book Love Magic, the World Domination Series. This was released in August, and it's quite a fun book, and hopefully it's just the first of more books by me to come in the future. I have a few little projects on the go, so hopefully they will bear fruit.
Well, great. I didn't know that, so I'm glad that you shared that. For everybody watching tonight, you go check that out. So,
thank you.
Excellent. So thank you so much for being here tonight and doing this check-in.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Take care, and I'll see
Thank
you
you.
later.
You too. Okay, sounds good. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, Maggie, for doing that check-in tonight. Welcome to everyone who has just joined. April, James, let's see, Dr. Cindy, Magister, Nix, Sid66, Stephanie, I'm glad you're here tonight. We're actually, I'm going to share something really touched my heart that Stephanie sent. I think you'll get a real satanic blessing from that. Mimi, Dionysus, all right. Egregor, hope I'm saying that right. All right, so welcome. I'm glad you're here. And again, it is live, so had a little glitch in the video, and hopefully that won't happen again. I get so nervous at these events because if it's raining or storming or the wind's blowing or anything, the possibility of having internet outage is fairly high. So, I'm just, knock on wood, ask for Satanas to see us through tonight. So, let's see. I had a couple of questions. I'll do a couple of questions, and then we'll go into the mailbag here. So, the first question, do you believe Satan and demons could be aliens? That's a real good question. I see Satanas and demons in the way that I see them, in the human sense of being able to view them. But it is quite possible that they are what we would term as aliens, I guess, meaning that they're not of this world. And obviously we know that they come through the veil, and we can go through the veil in the astral sense as well. So it's a very interesting concept, interesting question, I guess. And some people do associate aliens and demons as being some higher form of intelligent life, and that's exactly what demons and Satanas are. And we also have to keep in mind that, since the beginning of time, humans have described some things that they weren't really able to describe fully because they really had no words. And so a lot of times these things are described as chariots in the heavens and things like that, just simply because they don't have the words or did not have the words to describe those. So it is plausible. If you want to think of them in that term, I think that's perfectly acceptable. The next question, do I need to make an offering to demons that I plan to work with? And then the second question is, do certain demons prefer male over female and vice versa? So 2 really good questions there. First of all, demons and Satanas do not require an offering to interact with. It's just like starting a conversation with a person. You don't have to give them something to have them interact with you. So it's the same way for demons and Satanas and satanic spirits, that you don't have to offer them anything. It's nice if you do. The question often comes up as well about sacrifice to demons and Satanas. And if you've watched my YouTube videos, you know that my position on sacrifice is sacrifice has to be something that is important to you and you only. If it's not important to you, it's not a sacrifice. And if it doesn't really dig into what you have, then it's not a sacrifice. In other words, if you give money or time or energy just because you have a surplus, that's a donation, that's a gift, but that's not a sacrifice. So those that would like to maybe use sacrifice to enhance their workings with demons, a good recommendation I have is fasting. So, a lot of people are probably tuning out right now, but stay with me for a moment. When you fast, you are actually taking something that is the essence of human away from you. You're taking the food of life away from you. And if you do that for an extended time frame, obviously hunger enters in, and you're actually denying the human need and the human desire in order to heighten everything, your senses, your magic, that offering itself in that capacity is a real good way to do that. So whether you're going to interact with demons or Satanas or what have you, if you want to do a sacrifice, a good sacrifice is fasting. It really helps. It helps to heighten the reward for your investment. And it also heightens the magic as well. You have a higher flow of energy from fasting. Again, anything that you sacrifice has to be something that causes you discomfort or something that is taking away from you. That is sacrifice. And then the second question, do certain demons prefer male over female? There's really no difference. Spirits in themselves, they do not have sexual assignment. So we think of certain demons as he, we think of certain demons as she, but in the sense of that, they're really neutral. They're just spirit energy, and they can come into you, or they can come in through the astral, through evocation or invocation, either one, and they can take human form through you as a vessel. So, good questions there. I really like those questions. So thank you very much for those. All right, so I did get an email from Stephanie, and Stephanie is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you for being here. She has a wonderful, wonderful testimony. I'm going to read you a little bit of this, and I'm going to try to pronounce some of these titles and things correctly. If I mess them up, then please bear with me. But she writes, "Hello, Magus Aleister Nacht. I wanted to thank you again for yet another amazingly profound podcast. I listened to episode 1 of Night Sessions, and let me tell you, I had chills. I had a similar encounter with someone trying to help me with my addiction. I was homeless and stranded from home in a shitty part of town, Hooker Central, and a black man pulled up and asked me if I was okay and if I needed help. Against my better judgment, I went with him. I would later be glad I did. Long story short, he invited me to his brother's home. He expressed that he was concerned about a bad spirit energy attached to me and that my life would be in turmoil and eventually lead to death by suicide because that's what the spirit wanted. He and his brother are Paleros in the Palo Mayombe religion, which is Santeria. It's closely related. Palo Mayombe originated in the African Congo, and individuals who practice that are called Paleros. They performed a ritual on me with 4 pieces of pork meat, and I had to rub that on my body and take a shower after. Then they take the meat in a separate paper bag to the railroad tracks and place it on the metal. As we said a prayer to the god Agun, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, I stayed there for a week, and they were the most loving, caring, hospitable people I have ever met. In the week after the ritual, I was sick and weak, and I remember seeing a large black figure pacing back and forth all night by my room as if it was keeping watch and protecting me. I feel now that he was my guardian demon. In hearing your podcast, I couldn't believe how profound it was. I began tearing up when you spoke about the suicidal ideations. I cannot tell you how many times I swear I did a hot shot or had one prepared, and I'd wake up as if it was a dream, but I know I should have been dead. Many times I was always a day late and $1 short in my addiction, but it was always my benefit. I've always felt and say to this day, Satanas was there protecting me, and I know now because I have a greater purpose. That's a reason why I stumbled upon Satanism and devil worship 3 years ago, but only within the last few months have I delved deeper into it. P.S. As I was driving and listening to the podcast about the time you spoke of the rooster, I saw this rooster on the side of the road, and she sent me a picture of him. Another indication to me that there's no such thing as coincidences, only messages from beyond the veil. Wow. Powerful. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing that. Absolutely. Satanas works in so many different ways, and sometimes it's the most subtle ways, and we miss it because we're busy and we're doing other things in our lives, and we totally miss it. Take the time to look and see what Satanas is doing. And everything happens in his time. So it really doesn't matter what your timetable is. You should really bear in mind that when things are ready, they will happen. There are a lot of things that are always working in the shadows and behind the scenes that we never know anything about. We just know that something happens and it's either good or it's bad or whatever. But these things are happening, and if you have not heard from Satanas in a while, don't despair. it's probably because something is happening in the background that you're just not aware of. So, thank you, Stephanie. Satanic blessings to you. That is such a wonderful story, and I just received such a satanic blessing when I first read it, and even now. I mean, I feel chill bumps from reading that. I just have to go back and take a look at this picture again. This sums me up nicely with the hat before my hair fell out, and even the big nose. Look at that. It's just, wow. Powerful. Powerful. So one of our satanic priests in Magnum Opus, his name is Cygnus Atratus, and we are, again, working together on night sessions, and he is really bringing a new dimension to the podcast, and he is I get such a blessing from interacting with him. He has a different way of saying things, and it touches me, and it touches a lot of other people that have told me, wow, I love his work. He writes psalms as well. He also has a book that is going to be coming out here soon. I believe it's called the Satanic Stanzas. I know you're in the chat there, Cygnus, so if I said that wrong, please correct me. But I believe it's going to be called the Satanic Stanzas, and it'll be coming out here real soon. I wanted to play one of his psalms tonight because again, the way that he presents these is, to me, it gives me chill bumps. So let me play this one, and this is one of his psalms.
May these words descend into the lowest depths of hell, O Shaitan. I offer unto thee my sacrifice and devotion. May these libations pour forth throughout the ethers, resting at the feet of my infernal King and Most High. For unto thee will I offer up these incantations and pray. Thy whispers I shall hear before the morning and evening stars, O dark Lord. In the dawn and dusk will I direct my devotions, incantations, and prayers unto thee. I will look up to the heavens and down to the hells, and shall see your face in the sun and moon, and in the onyx cosmic chaos that lies behind the stars. For thou art the true God that taketh pleasure in the sacredness and the profane. For all light and darkness dwells within thee. The ignorant shall not bear to stand in thy radiance. Their hypocrisy shall burn within thy fire of pain, purgation, and pleasure. Thou shalt ravage the inauthentic. The dark Lord shall devour the bloody and the raw. But as for the black devotee, we will enter into thy temple through thy path of the serpent, and in thy diabolic wisdom will we worship toward thy sanctum sanctorum. Into thy depths, O infernal Lord, I remember and merge into thee. In thy luminescence the profane are blinded. Thou doth illuminate the serpent's path before the true dark devotee. For there is only satanic devotion in the heart of a true black adept, the insides composed of utter chaos, the throat a sacred shofar, and the tongue of a serpent king. Empower all those that put their devotion in thee through the ancient worship of the devil. Let them ever revel, growl, gnash, and howl in ecstasy and bliss, for they love thy abysmal name and find their silent solace in thee. For thou, O infernal Lord, will embrace thy chosen, and with devilish power will thou prepare the serpent's way into true satanic devotion, gnosis, alchemy, black magic, apotheosis, enlightenment, and immortality. Selah.
All right. So, does anyone else get chill bumps when you listen to that? I mean, that's powerful, powerful. I just love it, and he has been posting a lot of that on his Instagram and Twitter, and I think Megas, our Cygnus, you're actually starting a TikTok as well, I believe. So really good stuff, good stuff. And I believe we've got a check-in with Cygnus, so let's go over and do a check-in right quick. Cygnus, are you there?
Magus Aleister Nacht, yes, I'm here.
Great. I'm so glad that you could join me tonight for this live event and do a check-in. How have you been?
I'm very happy to be here as well and grateful. Thank you. I'm doing fantastic, Magus.
Excellent. Praise to Satanas.
Ave Satanas.
So you've been working with me and Malthorpe on night sessions, and we talked to Malthorpe a little bit earlier. Tell us about your perception of how you think this podcast is going.
I'm just simply walking in your shadows, in both of your shadows, and I'm humbled and grateful. I am just a servant of Satanas, nothing more. I believe the podcast is doing fantastic. I think it's great. It's inspiring. I think the three of us working collaboratively, bring different perspectives that come together very nicely. And I believe that Satanas and his hand and his breath is moving through our dialogues and our conversations in a way that whoever is listening could take something from that. I believe that if they're there and if they are receptive and willing, able, and open, they will take something regardless of what path or where you are in your life. There is something there for everyone.
Absolutely. I enjoy so much working on that with you guys. So, Cygnus, you have some things going on in your ministry. Tell us a little bit about that.
Before I speak specifically to that, I would like to encourage every initiate of this path to discover what their gifts are, because that is the ministry. The ministry is to build upon your strengths, and if you're called to put that forth, and to allow that magic to work. What I have going on at this time gives me great meaning in my satanic work, or my writings, and I'm really excited about an upcoming publication called the Satanic Stanzas. I hope that it could be something that it could be on your coffee table or on your nightstand, where if you just have a minute, you can just kind of reach over and that you could take something to reflect on, a little seed, a kernel of something that could just kind of simmer in your unconscious, maybe in your heart. That is my hope. At the very least, if you take something from it, just one little thing, I'm okay with that too. It's in your hands, and I'm just grateful to be of service in this way, to offer that to Satanas. That is my commitment to the path, to pay it forward.
Excellent. And I am really excited about that book. We need good theistic material out there, and I know this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. So it'll probably be available through Amazon in the future.
Yes, it'll be available through Amazon. Hopefully, if you punch in Satanic Stanzas, it will come up. Or if you punch in Magister Cygnus, it'll come up as well. So I would say within the next month, the first volume will come out. Shortly thereafter, there'll be a volume number 2. Another piece in the working known as the Codex. It's going to be a large piece, and I'm very excited about that one as well. So hopefully there'll be more coming along this year. And again, just devotional material, something that could be useful for the initiate and for the seeker.
Excellent. And I'll be sharing those links when it comes out on my social media. If people want to go to your website, what is your website, Cygnus?
The website is thenox.xyz. THENOX.xyz. The website at least has all the contacts for the social media links. There, at the very least, you'll have the links for Night Sessions, which is a phenomenal podcast. And I believe that the episodes to come are going to be profound, inspiring, and I really encourage people to listen, enjoy it. Even if you want, you take notes. I welcome you to correspond, to send emails for those that are interested, and I'm happy to respond and to give any feedback and to any questions you might have. thenox.xyz.
And you also have a Discord server.
I do. We have a Discord server. The link is also on the main website. Go to the main website, you'll find the Discord. And that's where I encourage conversation. This is a project in the making, but hopefully with time, there will be a nice little community of folks that want to connect. And maybe we'll have monthly discussions where we can all connect and review some of the literature and rights of the Magnum Opus, in addition to the work that we're going to be doing within the server and the work that I'll be pushing out. Hopefully, it'll be a continuation of the great work of the Magnum Opus.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So before we go, Cygnus, is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners about?
I would encourage the listeners to be resilient with their steadfast commitment to this path. An awareness of this abysmal truth is an initiation into an authentic and truthful journey with Satanas, the Prince of Darkness, Lord of the worlds, Lord of the aeons, master of the voluptuous powers of the cosmos, creation, preservation, destruction, transformation, birth, life, death, resurrection, metempsychosis, pain, pleasure, sorrow, joy, sin, mortality, liberation, freedom, immortality, apotheosis. Essentially, the impossible made possible.
Wonderful. I'll be putting a link to your website in the chat. Cygnus, thank you so much for checking in tonight.
And to you, Magus Aleister Nacht, thank you for allowing me to be here, and all glory and praise to him. Ave Satanas.
Ave Satanas. All right. Thank you, Cygnus. I enjoyed that checking in, and I just love that Psalms. That just speaks to me, and he does different ones of these, and I love them. They give me chill bumps. Don't forget, tonight, if you sign up at my Patreon for the $50 level, you'll get a signed book, The Unholy Trinity. So it's a good deal. Get a book. You get access to everything on my Patreon. And also, you help support the ministry. I could not do this without my Patreons, so thank you. I believe also we've got to check in with Cindy Ravenmoon. She is actually in the chat. I think I saw you here a second ago, Cindy, in there. So let's do a quick check-in with her as well.
Dr. Cindy, are you there?
Yes, good evening.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Well, thank you for having me. I am grateful that you asked me.
We are having a great time tonight with this live event, premiering the Satanic Black Mass, episode 5 of Exalted. What have you been up to?
Well, just doing my website readings, and my spell work that I offer on there, and those kinds of things, and trying to get some new ideas together for maybe having some social time with some other left-hand path people. So I'm thinking about possibly inviting you and some other left-hand path people to maybe have a Twitter event. I know they have those open rooms called Spaces, and Spaces is where you get on and you don't have a video per se, but you get on and you just have a fun time having a conversation. And I think that having some open chat would be productive. And I've had this idea for a while, and I thought, well, 2022 has arrived and now is the time to do it.
That is wonderful. I would be very happy to take part in something like that. As you know, this live event is kind of focused around the left-hand path and a sense of community. And a lot of people don't think that that exists, but I believe it does. What about you, Dr. Singh?
Yeah, definitely. And even if people think it doesn't exist, maybe on the kind of, it's scarce to find. So, but I find that, at least for me, and I think for you, and some other people, it's very important, because being on the left-hand path can be a lonely, lonely path. And I think it's very important that we need to reach out and have community and have contacts and keep those contacts going, because otherwise it gets to be to the point where we just, we feel lost, and that's not good. That's not good. You see all of the right-hand path people, and they have their nice communities, and why shouldn't we have the same thing? I think we should. I think it's something we need.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think sometimes people are saying that the left-hand path is solitary, and to a large extent it is, but I don't think that it's antisocial. I'm certainly not antisocial, and I know you're not. So maybe there's a little miscommunication.
Right. It's one thing to, say, well, I want to practice my own way, and that's fine. That's one thing. But, we need human interaction. And I think especially after, all of these COVID things have been going on, and it just seems to be escalating now. And that makes it so much more important to try to continue and to build relationships with our own kind. And I think it's needed. And yeah, I'm definitely not antisocial, and definitely want to continue building. And that's why I think it's important to have new ideas of being on Twitter, and maybe even inviting some people on Instagram to do maybe a live event, just to socialize and to say, hey, how's it going? What are you up to? And I think it's a good thing. We're just like everybody else. We don't have to be, like you said, antisocial, because a lot of us are not.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people out there, and especially people that may be listening tonight, they're looking for some kind of connection with other Satanists, other left-hand path occultists, and their beliefs do not have to be the same, but just being able to talk to people and not put a filter on, just be able to be yourself and say, this is what I believe, and not fear being attacked or ostracized or something like that, I think is real important.
Yes, it is. I totally agree. It is absolutely important. And I know that there's a lot of people out in the community that do feel like they have to stay hush hush, because they, may have maybe a different point of view, or they may be maybe even a new type of left-hand path that we don't know of. And that's the joy of reaching out to others, is finding out new things and maybe learning some new things. And that's what this is all about, is let's continue joining together instead of feeling like we're divided, because we don't have to be divided at all.
Absolutely. So I have your book, The Raven Moon Grimoire, in my library. Is that the only book that you've published?
Actually, no, that actually is the second one that I have published. The first book I have, which I don't even know if it's still on or not, because I haven't visited for a while, and that I published on lulu.com. I'm not positive it's even on it anymore. And that was a book that I did of just cemetery photography. So if you would basically just look up Cindy Raven Moon, it should come up if you go on lulu.com. But like I said, I'm not positive if that is even still available at this point. I would have to go back and check. But so what I'd like to do actually is take that book and republish it through Amazon and kind of do a do-over and have fun just kind of republishing all of those photos in a new format.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, I tell you what, we're looking for the Lulu right now, and when we find the link, we'll put it in the chat for our listeners. Your Raven Moon Grimoire, it's available on Kindle, is it?
Yep, it's available on Kindle and in paperback as well, both of them.
All right, and we do have the link for that, and we'll drop that in the chat here, so everybody can go check that out. You should have that book in your library. And Dr. Cindy, you do readings as well, correct?
Yes, I do. I do oracle readings of all kinds, whether it's tarot or it's Lenormand decks or gypsy decks or runes, witches runes, a lot of different things, or just plainly straight out intuition of I get drawn by what I feel at the time is appropriate for each individual client at that time. And all of that is available in the header of my website, along with doing spell work for just about anything you could imagine that you need help with. And one of the things also I'm focusing the most on now too is my spiritual counseling and advising for those who maybe, you're on the magical path, you have some questions, or you want to go through my book and you want to go step by step and you want to continue past my book and continue learning on, because my book is basically just a primer, a beginning stage to other things to come past the book. So that's all listed on my website as well.
And we're going to put a link right now in the chat, ravenmagic.org. So all the listeners, go over and check that out. Dr. Cindy has a lot of really good stuff over there. Dr. Cindy, you're obviously a doctor. What is that doctorate in?
I have a doctorate in metaphysics.
Okay. So what is a curriculum like that? What kind of courses do you take for something like that?
Well, for that, I specialize in mystical experiences. And so if you ask somebody what metaphysics is, you're going to get probably 100 different answers because it has branched out to so many different branches. But it started with the philosophy of Aristotle and basically asking the questions of what is the meaning of life. And then it branched off and it went to different, religious studies and different philosophies. But what I focus on basically is mystical experiences, paranormal type of activities. That's what I plug into.
I see. Wow, that's interesting. So do you do paranormal research as well? Do you go to some of these places that are, quote, haunted?
Yes, I do. And being that I'm also a Reiki master, it makes me more susceptible to picking up on those energies.
Wow, that is interesting. So what was your most scary experience doing that? Have you had some that you look back and go, holy cow?
Yeah, there has been a few actually, and there's been probably some of the most shocking ones have happened actually in my house. The house I live in now that I have owned for over 20 years. And I caught an EVP in my living room that was what we would call a Class A EVP, which means it was the most legible. And it was very distinct that this entity, and it was a man, was saying basically that living the physical life is where you enjoy it the most. And it just kind of threw me against almost a wall, it was like, whoa.
Wow.
Exactly. And I actually kept it, and somewhere I've got it on CD. We put it on CD, and that was one of those shining moments that you just go, wow, I picked the right thing to do in my life because this is absolutely amazing, and just, a number of things like that has happened in my house. So it's been either EVPs or having, actually being physically touched. My house was built in 1915, so it's over 100 years old now. So it has a lot of history to it and a lot of energy. And it's fascinating how you don't actually have to go too far to actually have those experiences if you are truly open to them.
Wow. I started, or actually I'm participating in a podcast with Malthorpe and Cygnus called Night Sessions. I would love to have you as a guest because part of our format is talking about Satanism, the left-hand path, but also supernatural and things like that, So I think you would be a wonderful guest to have on there.
Well, thank you. I would definitely love to do that sometime. Definitely.
Great. We'll set that up.
Yes.
So do you have anything coming up here in the very near future, like in the next week or so, we want to notify people of?
Not so much in the next week, but I'm looking probably sometime in February to get that Spaces, that Twitter chat thing going up. If sometime in February, if I can now, discuss it with people and see if they're interested. And I know you just said you were interested, and I thought I would label it probably Satan's Cafe. I thought that would be an excellent name to call it. Satan's Cafe. We'll, sit down and bring a cup of coffee or, some tea and enjoy ourselves and have a chat.
I love that title.
Yeah. I'm like, yep, that's been rooting around in my mind for a while. And I thought, well, now is the time to bring it up and share it with people because it's a new year and a new beginning. And it's just getting to be that time letting people know.
Absolutely. And you can look for both of our social media on Twitter when it all comes together. And I think it'll be something everyone will enjoy.
Yeah.
A lot. So thank you, Dr. Sandy, for checking in.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you. I really, really, truly appreciate it. It is an honor.
Well, you're very welcome. And again, that website is ravenmagic.org. Thank you again, Dr. Sandy. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you. And we will talk soon, and you have a lovely evening.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Cindy, for that check-in. So go over and check her website out. She has a lot of different services that she offers over there. Check out her book. It's fantastic. I've got it in my library. So a lot of good stuff. And, it really reminds me of what a really rich culture we have on the left-hand path. And we do have a sense of community, although we all practice differently and to some extent our beliefs may be a little bit different. But that doesn't mean that we can't appreciate one another's practices and we can't come together. We are herd animals as humans, and I know I love to have human interaction. I love to be around people, the pandemic notwithstanding, but I love to commune with people and be able to talk about these things, share what they're doing, share what I'm doing, and find some common collaborations as well. I think it is very rewarding for our path to have that, and sorely needed, I believe. So we're coming up on the second part of Exalted, Satanic Black Mass. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the Black Mass as performed by Magnum Opus. And hopefully you'll get a blessing out of this. Be sure to put any questions that you have in the chat. I'll be circling back to take a look. I've tried to answer a couple of questions in there. James, I answered your question. Very good question about abstinence and things like that when it comes to sacrifice. Really, really good stuff there. So go ahead and drop those in there, and I'll circle back and answer those. So without further ado, let's go to part 2 of the Satanic Black Mass.
Music chosen begins quietly as the congregation enters the sanctum, reciting the chosen sinister chant. The celebrant, deacon, subdeacon, and person serving as the altar enters the sanctum, reciting the chant. The person serving as the altar takes the place on the altar platform with their knees at its edge and widely parted. The arms are outstretched at right angles to the body, and each hand holds a candle holder with a black candle. The celebrant stands between the altar's knees. The mistress then enters the sanctum, approaches the altar while ringing the bell 9 times. She then turns to the congregation and raises her hands. The congregation becomes silent as the mistress makes the sign of the inverted pentagram over the congregation with her left hand, saying, "I go down to the altars of hell. From dark dimensions I call thee forth. By the word of the Prince of Darkness I give praise to you. My Prince, bringer of enlightenment, I greet you. Ave Satanas." The celebrant begins. To Satanas, the giver of life, energy, and consciousness, we are illuminated by your trans-dimensional light. The congregation responds, "Our Father, which wert in heaven, hallowed be thy name, in heaven as it is on earth. Give us this day our ecstasy, and deliver us to evil as well as temptation. For we are your kingdom for aeons and aeons." The celebrant then invokes the 4 cardinal directions of the compass with the sword, saying, "May Satanas, the all-powerful king of the earth, grant us our desires." The congregation responds, "King of the earth, hear us. Open wide the gates of hell and come forth from the abyss." Again, the congregation begins the sinister chant. The celebrant continues, "We believe in one King, Satanas, who reigns over this earth, and in one law which triumphs over all. We believe in one sanctum, our satanic sanctum, and in one word which triumphs over all, the word of ecstasy. And we believe in the law of the aeon, which is sacrifice for that desired, for which we shed no tears, since we give praise to our King and the pleasures that are to come." The mistress kisses the celebrant, then turns to the congregation, saying, "May Satanas be with you." The deacon and subdeacon begin. "Amen. Evil from us deliver, but temptation into not us lead, and us against trespass, who those forgive we as. Trespasses our us forgive, and bread daily our day this us give. Heaven in is it as earth on. Done be will thy, come kingdom thy, name thy be hallowed. Heaven in art who, Father our. The celebrant continues. Before the Almighty Prince of Darkness, and in the presence of all demons of the pit, and this assembled congregation, we acknowledge and confess our past errors. Renouncing all past allegiances, we proclaim Satanas, Lucifer, rules the earth, and we ratify and renew our promise to recognize and honor him in all things without reservation, desiring in return his assistance in the successful completion of our endeavors and the fulfillment of our desires. I call upon you, our satanic clergy, to bear witness. Deacon and subdeacon began. Before the Almighty Prince of Darkness, and in the presence of all the demons of the pit, and this assembled coven, we acknowledge and confess our past errors. Renouncing all past allegiances, we proclaim Satanas, Lucifer, rules the earth, and we ratify and renew our promise to recognize and honor him in all things without reservation, desiring in return his manifold assistance in the successful completion of our endeavors and the fulfillment of our desires. We call upon you, our congregation, to receive this pledge in his name. The congregation responds, Hail Satanas. The celebrant begins, Introibo ad altare Satanas, corpus Satanas. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Together this night, we ask thy unfailing assistance in this particular need. In the unity of unholy fellowship, we praise and honor first thee, Lucifer, morning star, and Beelzebub, Lord of regeneration. Then Belial, prince of the earth, and angel of destruction, Leviathan, beast of the depths, Abaddon, angel of the bottomless pit, Samiel, seducer of Eve, and Asmodeus, demon of lust. We call upon the mighty names of Astaroth of the west, Nergal, son of Enlil and Ninlil, Behemoth, Belphegor, Adrammelech, Zepar, and Raum, and of all the nameless and formless ones, the innumerable hosts of hell and all satanic spirits, by whose assistance may we be strengthened in mind, body, and will. The celebrant then extends his hands palm down over the altar. The bell is sounded 3 times. Therefore, O mighty Lord of illumination, we ask you to receive and accept this sacrifice which we offer on behalf of our assembled coven, upon whom you have set your sigillum diaboli, that you may make us prosper under thy protection, and may cause to go forth at our bidding thy legions for the fulfillment of our desires and the destruction of our enemies. The congregation responds, So mote it be, Ave Satanas. The subdeacon brings forth the chamber pot and presents it to the nun or the mistress as decided, who has come forth. She lifts her habit and urinates into the font. As she passes water, the deacon addresses the congregation. She makes the font resound with the tears of her mortification. The waters of her shame become a shower of blessing in the sanctum of Satanas. For that which has been withheld pours forth, and with it her piety. The great Baphomet shall sustain her, for she is a living fountain of water. As she finishes, the deacon continues. And the dark Lord shall wipe all tears from her eyes. For he said unto us, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give freely unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life. The subdeacon removes the font from the nun and holds it before the celebrant, who dips a wafer into the fluid. Then the celebrant turns left to each of the cardinal compass points, shakes the wafer twice at each point. The wafer is then thrown to the floor. The celebrant takes the athame, turns left to each of the cardinal compass points, and recites the following. After each recitation, the bell is sounded. In the name of Satanas, we bless thee. 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 The celebrant raises another wafer, placing it between the breasts of the altar, and then touching it to the vaginal area. The bell is sounded 3 times. The celebrant replaces the wafer on the paten, which rests on the altar platform. Taking the chalice into his hands, he bends low over it and whispers the following. To us, thy faithful children, O infernal Lord, who trusts in your boundless power and might, grant that we may be numbered among thy chosen. It is through you that all gifts come to us. Illumination, knowledge, power, and wealth are yours to bestow. Renouncing the spiritual paradise of the weak and lowly, we place our trust in thee, the Lord of the flesh, looking to the satisfaction of all our desires and petitioning of all fulfillments in this realm. We employ the duty of Mastima and call upon Mare and Rabdos to silence their breath. Ave Lucifuge, Rofocal, Ave Malphus, Ave Satanas. Deacon and subdeacon respond, So mote it be, Hail Satanas. The celebrant begins. Prompted by the precepts of the earth and the inclinations of the flesh, we make bold to say, Our Father which art in hell, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done, on earth as it is in hell. We take this night our rightful due, and trespass not on the path of pain. Lead us into temptation, and deliver us from false piety. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Nema. The deacon and subdeacon answer, "So mote it be, Nema." The celebrant begins, "Deliver us, O mighty Satanas, from the past error and delusion that, having set our feet upon the path of darkness and vowed ourselves to thy service, we may not weaken in our resolve, but with thy assistance grow in wisdom and strength." The deacon and subdeacon answer, "So mote it be, Nema." The celebrant takes another wafer into his hands, extends it before him, and turns to face the assembled congregation, saying, "Thou whom, in my capacity as celebrant, I force, whether thy will or will not, to descend into this host, to incarnate thyself to this artisan of hoaxes, bandit of homage, robber of affection, here, since the day when thou didst issue from the bowels of a false virgin, thou hast failed all thy engagements and broken all thy promises. Centuries have wept awaiting thee, fugitive and mute God. Thou wast to redeem man, and thou hast not. Thou wast to appear in thy glory, and thou steepest. Go, lie. Say to the wretched who appeals to thee, hope, be patient, suffer. The hospital of souls will receive thee. Heaven opens to thee. Impostor! Thou knowest well that the angels, disgusted at thy inertness, abandoned thee. Thou wast to be the interpreter of our plaints, the chamberlain of our tears. Thou wast to convey them to the cosmos, and thou hast not done so, for this intercession would disturb thy eternal sleep of happy satiety. Thy wrath upon him, O Satanas, and rend him that he may know the extent of thy anger. Call forth thy legions, that they may witness what we do in thy name. Send forth thy messengers to proclaim this deed, and smite him anew, O Lord of light, that his angels, cherubim and seraphim, will cower and tremble with fear, prostrating themselves before thee in respect of thy power. Send crashing down the gates of heaven, that the murderers of our ancestors may be avenged. The celebrant touches the vaginal area of the altar, holds the wafer aloft, and then throws it to the floor, where it is trampled by himself, deacon, and subdeacon, while the bell rings continually. The celebrant takes the chalice into his hands, faces the altar, and drinks. The celebrant then presents the cup to the altar, who rises to a sitting position and drinks. She reclines after drinking. Then the celebrant presents the cup to each of the members of the assemblage, first to the deacon and subdeacon and mistress, followed by others in the order of rank or seniority in the coven. In administering the cup to each, the celebrant recites, In nomine magni de nostri Satanas, Hail Satanas. He then bows before the altar and turns to give the blessing of Satanas to the congregation, extending his left hand in the cornu, the sign of the horns. It is made by raising the index finger and little finger while turning down the middle fingers and thumb. All assembled face the altar and raise arms in the cornu. The congregation recites, Ave Satanas, Hail Satanas. The celebrant begins, Let us depart, for it is done. The deacon and subdeacon begin, It is done. So mote it be, Hail Satanas. The celebrant, deacon, subdeacon, and mistress bow toward the altar, assist her or him to the standing position, turn and depart the chamber while ringing the bell 9 times. The candles are snuffed and everyone leaves the chamber. This ends the Black Mass. The Black Mass itself is very therapeutic and a deep connection to Satanas for the coven or the individual practitioner. Preparation is key for any ritual, and the Black Mass is no different. Over time, the coven will become more and more comfortable with the performance of this or any other ritual. Those objectives of each operation should be fulfilled, and lastly, the Satanic Grimoire should be updated with the results of the ritual or ceremony and any notes needed for better preparation or improvement should be noted as well. After the ritual, some covens will partake in an orgy or other gathering, feast, or communion with themselves as part of their satanic family. The main objective of any ritual should be the connection, communication, and closeness gained with Satanas. So mote it be.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Now you know why I call this Hellathon. Since we're coming up on 9 o'clock, we have a few other things that we're going to take care of before the end of it. I do appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. First, the Black Mass itself will air in 1 minute. It will be airing in its entirety. So you can go back and watch it without having to watch the live event. And again, if you want to donate to the ministry, the GoFundMe is there. All the money goes back to supporting licensing of music, licensing of video, equipment, software, all these things, lights, so that I can bring something that is not only educational but entertaining on our path. So the next episode of Exalted, this will be episode 6, is called Death and the Afterlife. And you don't want to miss this. It's not going to be a live event. It's just going to be the episode. It's going to premiere on YouTube March 19th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to explain the philosophy of myself and Magnum Opus when it comes to death, the afterlife, energy, piercing the veil, on the other side of the veil, I'm going to talk about all of the facilities that we will need to use outside of our limited 3 dimensions. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a good episode. I think it's the best episode that I have done, because it closely relates to my situation that I went through earlier last year. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And obviously, Satanas was there every step of the way, and to him is the glory. So a couple of other questions here before before I go a little further. I wanted to include a couple bad reviews or questions or emails along with good. On this walk on the left-hand path and what I do being in the public, I take a lot of beatings sometimes verbally and through social media and stuff like that. But let me just read you 2 of these that I picked out. So first of all, Aleister, you are going to hell. There you have it right there. You had better change your ways or you will burn forever. Turn from your wicked ways today. Be saved. So there you go. I can guess, where that came from as far as, what background. But I guess still trying to save my soul for whatever that means to somebody. A lot of stuff I have to wade through just like that. And then I also have wonderful emails like this one. Aleister, your bombacity is matched only by your lack of talent as a writer. Ouch! Your vain babbling is like fingernails on a chalkboard. Wow. Your readers are either morons, severely retarded, or have suffered a brain injury before or after reading your books. Wow. Huh? Tell me more. Tell me more. P.S. The fact that people tolerate your nonsense is a testament to and proves our world is spiritually lost. Wow. What can I say? I mean, ouch. But this is par for the course. This is exactly what I deal with on a daily basis. Absolutely just craziness out there. So I just wanted to include that. One last thing is Dark Moon Merchant. This is Venus Satanis's shop. You can go over there and shop as well. It's the darkmoonmerchant.com. She supports the ASPCA, which is a great thing. I love that. Use the code Aleister2040 and you'll get 10% off. So go over and check that out again as you're doing the work and you're setting up your altar, maybe your sanctum, or you're getting ready for whatever ritual or event coming up. You're probably going to need supplies. Dark Moon Merchant will help you there, as well as Maggie. Maggie Moon Shop, fantastic. So these are a couple of those folks I highly recommend. So before we go, I want to say thank you for being here tonight. I know we ran a little bit over. I wanted to keep it to about 2 hours, but thank you for being here. I have enjoyed it. I hope you have. I hope you get a satanic blessing from this. I have a couple people I need to thank. Obviously, Cygnus for doing the check-in, Malthorpe, Dr. Cindy, Maggie Moon, And then people behind the scenes that do this and put this all together. We've been working 2 weeks to put this event together that you've watched tonight. And I want to give a shout out to Cornelius, Debbie, Freddie, Lisi, and my Patreons. Thank you so much. And if you like what you heard tonight and you want to support the ministry and you want to support Exalted and more episodes and things like that, you certainly can at patreon.com/Satanism. So I am going to take a little time away. As you may know from last year and the year before that, I'm getting ready for spring break. Hey, no use in living in Florida if you can't partake of that. And so I always take a little bit of time off, and I'm ready to rejuvenate and get my batteries charged as well. So I do have the Exalted premiere coming up in February. I'll probably have one other video that may be on the satanic processes during that time period. And then I will be out on the water and partaking of spring break. So I wish you the very best. Thank you for being here tonight. I wish you satanic blessings. And if you have questions, if you have comments, suggestions, or what have you, you can certainly leave those. Feel free to go into the Twitter and contact me there if you want to. You can also direct message me in Twitter. And I do read all of that. I do answer all of that. Yeah. Come over and let me know what you think about this. If you enjoyed this event, if you'd like more events like this in the future. So, until next time, this has been Aleister Nacht. Hail Satan.